Hey, everybody, and welcome in. It's the Poor Man Fantasy Football League podcast. We're the fantasy football show that gives you a peek inside the life and times of our Dynasty League. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is my friend Andrew. And we are kicking off the 2024 fantasy football season on this Wednesday, March 6th. Andrew, how you doing?
Doing very well. We had a nice little break from recording, trying out new software, trying out new stuff. Mike, you've been busting your hump trying to learn this new platform for us. So thank you very much for that. Excited to see how this is going to work out for us. And things have been good. How about yourself?
Good, busy. I have spent some time learning the new Riverside.fm platform as our video processing. We're still hosting with Spotify for podcasters, but they're ending their services. So we migrated over to Riverside, give it a whirl. This is our first real week. Oh, just getting some updated news, football news. So I'll add that to the doc here shortly.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, like live on the fly. My phone is just ding, Josh Jacobs related news. So here's what's going on in my world, in my life. We had a 2-week break. Enjoyed it, but man, it feels like it has been months since we were on the show together.
Yeah. Because our last one was the Super Bowl Fallout show, where we tested this platform on their free sample, and that it worked out pretty good. That's why we continued on with this, and it still needs some tweaking. We still need to figure everything out, but we will get there. We will get there.
We will
Excited
get there.
for excited for this stuff to get for this season to get started.
And started it has. We just had the combine, so let's talk about that real quick. Combine highlights. I don't watch the combine. I wait till the combine's done, or like as at the end of the day, kind of get the gist of what happened. And Rick Eisen is present at the combine, and he posts a lot of stuff. And he went through a roller coaster of emotion. One being a Michigan Wolverines fan like us. He got a chance to talk to a lot of those Michigan Wolverine players in attendance. He got to show them some love, give them some accolades. His co-host, and Daniel Jeremiah,
Yep.
one of their colleagues and longtime friends, passed away. Got to see an emotional experience with that. Got to hear some funny comments and phrases coming out of these young kids' mouths, and I got to see some interesting, like the Xavier Worthy speed drill, right? His 40-yard dash. He set the record by .01 over John Ross. And yeah, just some neat stuff. How about you? What did you think about the combine?
You know what? I like you. I don't sit there. I don't sit there and watch the whole thing over and over and over again and analyze it as it's going on. Um, I found it interesting that there were so many. Like, there's usually a few players that, you know what, I'm not going to do the physical stuff. But this year there seemed to be a lot more. Like, there was one drill where only one quarterback showed up to do the drill. And he's like surrounded by a bunch of other players that aren't quarterbacks. And the commentators are just kind of like mocking it. Like, I guess he's the only one that's going to show up to do anything in this one. So I don't know. Does that hurt the players? Does that help the players? I was watching a video online earlier this evening, where an analyst was saying, like guys it was actually Pat McAfee, because he was talking about the quarterbacks, guys that were like 4, 5, and 6, may have wanted to do throw the ball and do the drills and blah blah blah, to try and raise them up like JJ McCarthy did. He is climbing. He is climbing on everybody's charts after the combine because he did well in some of his stuff. Um, but it could also hurt some players too. That were, are we sure that they're who we think they are? But now they're not showing any of their skills. And does it have them drop down in the draft? I mean, that's one of the the big things. Um, I kind of take that into consideration. Um, but I can also see it from the player standpoint. You look at the guy from Michigan last year, Chugawan, or
Okonkwo, not Okonkwo.
yeah, Okonkwo.
No,
Uh,
Okonkwo was the tight end for the Tennessee Titans. We're
oh,
talking about Aiden Hutchinson's
yeah,
line mate who
yeah,
ended up hurting his Achilles. Was it Achilles?
yeah. He tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
Like I was watching highlights of this one drill where it was offensive linemen. They start the drill where they're lying on their back on the ground in the field, and then they got to pop up, and then they got to move side to side, back and forward, for watching the coach with the ball and stuff and like even the commentators like, when's an offensive lineman going to start the play on his back? Never going to happen. So why are they doing it? None of his drills or none of his plays are going to have him moving side to side. You're either dropping back at an angle, or you're going forward at an angle, or you're cutting and going down the line to block out another play. Like, why are they doing this drill? Like, yes, you want to see if the guy has some agility, but what if the guy blows out a knee trying to get up, or blows out his ankle trying to make these maneuvers, and it wrecks his career? Like, why are they doing drills like that? Like the commentators were talking about stuff like that. And I found it interesting. And from a player standpoint, maybe I wouldn't want to do that drill just for those reasons, right?
I agree. There is some serious thought that needs to go into what are these guys there to do? And is it relevant to their ability to play football?
Yeah.
I have listened to several commentators, analysts, whatever you want to call them, talk about the effectiveness of the combine. These guys play football, and then when they're done and they know they're going to the combine because they get an invite, they make that decision. Do I attend? And if I do, what do I do at the combine? What is going to be the best for me? Because there's some guys that are like down on the list, so they're using it as their opportunity to try and showcase and try and move up. There's some guys who are, it's more detrimental to perform and risk performing poorly and moving down than it is to say, you know what, guys, I'm just going to do my scripted performance at my pro day, and I'll be here for like some conversations and interviews. Yeah. Excuse me, like that seems to be, if I know I'm in that top tier at my group, if I'm a wide receiver, running back, linebacker, whatever my position is, maybe it is a good idea to not participate in some of these drills, because I'm not sure what you're showcasing is really valuable or translates exactly to the NFL. You're not wearing pads. You're not under game pressure. You're not really showcasing your football acumen. You're showing your physical abilities. And you train for that. So you transition from football training to a different type of training for the combine. And then once the combine's over, you go back to football training to get ready for football. So guys are doing their speed score. That's great. You ran fast, but you weren't touched by anybody. You weren't running against anybody. You weren't wearing pads or a helmet. So how does that affect? So some guys might have a slow score and you like penalize them for it, but when they get in the game, the way they play in the game is different. And it's not the way the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So to me, this is kind of like the Pro Bowl, but it's like the pre-bowl.
I like that analogy. I like that analogy of it. There are some drills that I thought were really good, like for the offensive linemen. They were talking about the one that Jason Kelsey just destroys, and it's his signature thing where he snaps the ball and then cuts down the line and takes out the corner so that the running back or the quarterback can run the ball. That drill would be good. You snap the ball, and can you cut, and how quick can you get down the line to make your block? That's a good drill to have. But you're right. Like, there's nobody else lined up for you to be tripping over other guys' feet, for you to be having to maneuver around guys. You're not actually going out and blocking anybody. You're just running down the line and kind of making a cut. So You're right. It's the Pro Bowl of college. You know,
Exactly. That's
let's
kind
have
of
some
what this
fun
is.
and yeah,
The transition bowl. I don't
yeah,
know. It's there's also the fact that some of these guys, like Caleb Williams, for example, who chose to do nothing. He didn't come for
no,
like interviews. He didn't come. He didn't give his medical measurements. Anything. It's
no.
like, well, that's kind of weird.
Well,
You
he's
think he would have
he's
gone?
he's in a special position all of his own. I've got him down on our list in the combine highlights. Like I don't even think he has an agent. His dad is representing him,
Correct. He
and
has
I
chosen to
think
go into this alone.
yes, and they're trying to. His dad is trying to control the whole draft process. That's the words of a commentator. Um, you know, they won't release his medical history. He won't do anything physical at the combine. His father is going so far as even to challenge the rookie salary process and the amount that a rookie is supposed to get paid. He's trying to force the Bears into trading away the pick because he doesn't want to play in Chicago. You know, all of this weird stuff going on with him. His dad is saying, he has been the talk of the town for the last 10 years, that he's supposed to be the next greatest quarterback coming out, blah, 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 blah. You know, I liken it to the whole Eric Lindros in the NHL when the Quebec Nordiques drafted him. And he said, no, I'm not playing there. I am going to sit and become a free agent again and go wherever I want. And, to me, I thought that hurt Lindros.
Did.
And he wasn't even as good as, everybody kept speaking, pouring honey in his ears about, oh, you're the next Gretzky, you're the next Lemieux, you're the next, greatest thing. And he was nowhere near those guys, skill-wise. Is Caleb Williams that good that he can command all of this? I don't think so.
If he's so ballsy with his what he thinks he is, and they want to challenge the rookie contract, then let's set a rookie contract where you get paid at the end if you survive. If you perform, if you have a CJ Stroud season, yeah, we'll pay you. And then, do it again the year after. And if you don't, then we don't pay you. If you have a Bryce Young season, it's like, guess what? You get nothing. I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry. And that's going to fall partly on the team, but you also have to be a prolific athlete. To me, CJ Stroud excelled in his position against all odds. He's an Ohio State quarterback. We all know Ohio State quarterbacks have never succeeded at the NFL level. He's the exception to the rule. He's going to break that mold. Congratulations to him. But if you believe in yourself so strongly and you want to reset the market, then do something that nobody's ever done. Take a back-end deal based upon your performance.
Yeah.
Go to the team and see what happens, right? Don't try and front-end load that you're going to get paid all this much money because, you haven't done anything. We haven't seen you. You didn't win a national championship. You won a Heisman Trophy once. Cool,
Yeah.
right? But you didn't carry your team to a victory because there's a thing called a team you got to kind of work with, and you might be in the most important position in all of sports, but you're now playing at a level that a lot of these quarterbacks don't survive in. Because you're drafted in the first round, the expectations are so high, you're not going to live up to those expectations. We're going to cut you. Just look at Justin Fields. Just look at Kenny Pickett, Bryce Young, guys that have not lived up to the hype. Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones. There's a whole gamut of quarterbacks taken early in the first round that just never panned out. Trevor Lawrence is still to be determined. Trey Lance, toast, right? I didn't even make a year, 2 years.
Exactly.
Didn't get a chance, right? So to any team that ends up getting him, whether it's the Bears or they trade out to somebody else, do not give this child, because that's what he is, a child, a contract unworthy of his position, unworthy of what he has accomplished, unworthy of what his talents are, because he hasn't proven it yet. So I hope somebody kind of cleans up the mentality. Otherwise, It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be absolutely rough.
I would love to see there to be an option for guys. You can take a 1 year deal, a 1 year deal only, at a little bit of a higher rate. Or you can take the standard 4 or 5 year deal at the what the average is, the way it is now. You know, if you think you are so great, you take that 1 year deal because are either going to excel, and then be able to go and negotiate a better contract, or you're going to blow it, and the team's going to turn around and say, now we're going to sign you to an even lower deal than the rookie deal was, because now you're sitting on the bench. I'm not signing you to $500 million as an unknown and tie up my next 5 years for you to sit on the bench behind somebody I got to go out and trade for or get another draft or what have you. Go and pick up Andy Dalton or Ryan Fitzpatrick or whoever.
Yeah.
Because I can't afford anybody else because you handcuffed me and the rest of the team. Because of your arrogance and you couldn't make, look at Baker Mayfield. Couldn't cut in Cleveland. Couldn't cut in where he went after that, Jacksonville. Couldn't cut it, and he just started to do okay in Tampa Bay. Right? It's, had they signed him in Cleveland to a big, huge deal, and I think the deal that they gave him was a pretty good one anyway, but, it would have hurt the team because he wasn't performing.
Right. Okay. You're right. I think there could be some interesting and creative ways to allow players to bet on themselves, but protect the team.
Yes.
If you want to get paid, we're willing to take this chance. We'll pay you X amount of dollars for that 1 year deal. And then if you live up to the hype, then this is what's at the end of that. If you don't, I'm sorry. Well, guess what? We get to lock you in at this lower rate.
Yep.
And finish out. It's like, we'll give you your quote unquote your 5th year option up front. And then if you flounder, then we get you at this 7th round 4-year deal.
Yeah. Yep.
So, interesting. Well, that's our conversation regarding the highlights. Just to give you you listeners at home an idea of what's going on tonight, because we are kicking off this season. It's 2024. It's a long way until we get some real football.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, I'm saying real football, NFL football. No, I'm not talking about USFL or any of the spring leagues or any of that. We'll dip our toe into those when those actually happen. I'm not looking at those yet. So tonight, here's what we're discussing. We're going to talk a little bit about some football news. We're gonna enter the rumor mill, see what's going on there. There is some free agency signings, pre-signings. That opens up next week, by the way, on March 13th. Some players were released in our absence. We're going to talk about franchise tag. And then we're going to quickly review each of the positions, quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, not tight ends. We don't have time for that. And we're going to give our best guesses, or maybe our heart's desires, where we'd like to see some of these players land. So if you're ready, Andrew.
Let's delve in. Yep.
News. Jason Kelce retired. I think it's the end of the tush push, at least in Philly.
Yes. You know what? He man, if he isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's been robbed. He's had a great career. He is now what colleges and pro teams are going to measure guys to. He was he's like Jeff Saturday was for Peyton Manning. Him not being there in front of Jalen Hurts I think that's going to be a big problem for that team next year.
Well, their offensive line was a really strong part of their whole identity. Yep. Now that they've switched their offensive defensive coordinators again, they're going to reset that. But the loss of Jason Kelsey is really going to hurt that identity. So I'm curious to see how they change and transition to make their running game as prevalent as it once was.
Yep. Yep.
And the second bit of news we got, quarterback Russell Wilson has been notified that he will be released on the start of the league year with $85 million or $82 million in dead cap, the most of any player in NFL history that is just going to be left on the books, which is a massive sign that the Denver Broncos will be drafting a quarterback because they can't afford to go and sign one anywhere else. So I believe their first-round pick is J.J. McCarthy or bust.
I believe you're right. They also announced today they've given him permission to shop himself around. Go and find a team. If you can find somebody that will take you, please, by all means, go find them. So that could be an interesting situation.
As in like a trade before he's released?
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess that
if you can, we are going to release you. But if you can find yourself a team that will trade with us, you go ahead and go do that. Get your agent to work for you. We're not going to shop you. But if you want to play next year, get your agent to do something.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be interested parties that will try and pick him up. And we'll actually talk about that when we get down to the quarterback free agents. That's all the news we got. So from news to rumors, let's jump into that one. First one I got here is I got Raiders, Vikings, and Giants are all interested in trying to move up to the top 3 to grab somebody. Now, I'm sure there's
that's
several
interesting.
teams. Yeah, it's from a reputable source, and the fact that I can see the Raiders, the Vikings, and the Giants being into that category, but I put them into the same group as the Denver Broncos. Their picks are later, and they're probably going to be fighting for that J.J. McCarthy-ish position because to me, I think it's still locked in that Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels are your top 3 quarterbacks.
Yep.
And J.J. McCarthy has climbed his way up to be a top end of the draft quarterback, but which team will actually invest in getting him? And I think there's several teams that are in that mix, but it's interesting to hear that these guys are willing to spend to try and jump up ahead of somebody else to try and get those draft pick, or to get that quarterback.
Yes, I agree. I think McCarthy could hit 4th or 5th quarterback on. As we're toward the end of the season, I think he was probably about the 10th. So I think he's climbed about 5 spots in his ranking. And you're right. I think for him, it's going to be all about the right team fit. Him going to a team like, and I know really they're not looking for a quarterback, but like Arizona, I don't know that he would be it wouldn't be a good fit for him. I don't think that offense would help him shine type thing. Right?
Okay. All right. Running back Saquon Barkley, who was not franchise tag, who will be on the market this season, has apparently been in touch with C.J. Stroud and talking to him. So there's a possible connection that he might end up in Houston, which I think would be outstanding if that were to happen for the Houston Texans. Scary, because I think that would make them a whole lot better as a team, because they did do well with just Devin Singletary and whatever they did get out of Dameon Pierce. But if they had a real blue chip running back down there, yeah, like good things could happen. Quarterback Justin Fields has been linked heavily to the Atlanta Falcons, and the reason being is Atlanta is his home, and he did post on his Instagram, his agent posted on Instagram a video of Justin Fields losing his mind after hearing the statement, or somewhere during the video, the statement was made, "Are you ready to go home?" So the rumor mill for this one is that he could be traded to Atlanta. And you know what? That's a young team with a lot of young athletes to build around, and maybe that's just what Justin Fields needs to make work. So if that happens, great. We'll see if that works out or if it's an absolute bust. But that's in the rumor mill, and I see you've added some additional ones. Why don't you take those?
Yeah, just like last year, it's expected that Cincinnati's probably going to drop Joe Mixon. That came from a source at NBC Sports because it's going to save them about $6.1 million, which is significant. And it's funny because later on in the day, I saw Cincinnati's looking at Barkley as a pickup. Yep.
What?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they figure they can get him for $4 million a year.
Yeah, right.
I doubt it, but
I doubt it. Okay. Given the running backs that are out there and the running backs that are in the rookie draft, if the Cincinnati Bengals cut Joe Mixon, and they very well could, because teams do things as they see fit. But if you're paying Joe Mixon $6 million, I'm not sure if that's what they're paying him, if that's just what the dead cap hit, or what the savings would be. I don't think they can go out in the marketplace and get a running back that's as good as Joe Mixon for less than what they're paying him now.
At the stage of their careers, I don't think Barkley's as good as Mixon.
I would actually. I'd rather have Barkley than Mixon, but I'd rather have Mixon because he's been in my system working with these guys. So to me, I'd give him that edge.
Barkley still shines in games and has some outstanding games, but then he still has games that are lackluster. So I think Mixon is a little bit more consistent than Barkley, I think. So as a Bengal fan, I would hate to see them release Mixon. I get that they're trying to save money, but he's an integral part of that offense. It's like, I don't know. I would be upset to see him go. I really would.
I think he's earned a spot, and we'll see what actually ends up happening. I hope he stays though.
Yep. And then the other one that I came across was that the Bucs are trying to re-sign Baker Mayfield, but he's not wanting to take that hometown discount. My thoughts beyond that are Baker Mayfield. You keep getting cut from every other team that you've played on because you haven't cut it. You had one good year. That doesn't give you the right to say, hey, I'm Patrick Mahomes and I want $50 million a season for 10 years. No, you're not. You haven't earned that collateral yet. You haven't taken them to the Super Bowl. You start showing us more than what you've had, and then maybe we'll talk more money.
Yeah, I certainly hope he's not one of those, hey, I had one good year, now you guys got to pay me. I hope, because he did 4 years in Cleveland. He ended up with the Rams for a year. And then Tampa. We're projecting him to go back to Tampa.
Yeah. Didn't he do a stint in Jacksonville?
No. Well, at least not according to the fantasy log.
But okay.
He could have done a in and out. Who knows? I don't really pay attention to Baker Mayfield.
No.
But I do think that if he's smart, he'll do the Geno Smith style deal. Hey, look, I was a number one overall draft pick. I didn't really pan out. I've survived this long. I'm getting another shot. You know what, guys? I worked well in your system. The quarterback that made me work well, he's gone. Or not quarterback, the coach that made me work well, that coordinator, he's gone. He's down in Carolina now. So how about I stick with you guys now that you've re-signed Mike Evans? Let's work out a deal. You don't have to pay
Yeah.
me like I'm a top tier quarterback, but I think you need to pay me some good money.
Yeah.
And let's not make it a 1 year. Let's make it a 4-year deal, where you guys can get out of this down the road, but I'm going to get paid.
Yeah. Make it a an inclining contract where, and what I mean by that is, you know what, maybe not so much this year, but next year more, next year more, next year more. Where I'm proving myself each year. You're getting the equity. If I have another great year, I'm worth that much more. If I have a second great year, I'm worth that much more. If I have a third great year,
But what if you don't have a great year? Then I'm back end loading your contract, and I somehow can
I
dump
guess.
you or get rid of you, right? So I think that it's more like front end loaded with a way to escape.
I guess.
Hopefully, yeah. Good luck to him.
Yeah.
Good luck. Speaking of free agent signings, I did mention Mike Evans did re-sign with the Bucks, 2 years, $52 million, 33-ish mils guaranteed. Good for him. So he's
Wow.
going to be around for at least 1 more year, maybe 2, and then that's it. I think that's great, especially if he does have Baker Mayfield back, because then you kind of have an expectation of what to get out of him from fantasy. So I think
Yeah.
that's good. Players that were released in our 2-week break. Wide receiver Marquez Vandell-Scantling from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's gone. No love lost there.
No.
As a Chiefs fan, how do you feel? Don't care?
None of the wide receivers had a good year. Yes, he helped them win the Super Bowl, but you know what? 1 or 2 plays does not make your season.
Didn't Melvin Gordon help them win a Super Bowl by sitting on the bench and not playing? Didn't Kadarius Toney help
Yes.
them win a Super Bowl by being a healthy scratch?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, so-
You know what? But that's what I mean. Like, none of their wide receiving core really, lit it up like a Justin Jefferson, right? And I think that's where they're going to need to address that in the offseason by either drafting or picking up a guy. So losing Kadarius Toney, I don't think they've actually cut Toney yet, but that's probably not too far down the road.
Yeah, I don't see him sticking with the team for very long.
No, save whatever cap they can off of them, and let them go. Same thing with that other guy that they picked up halfway through the season. The kick return guy who's got all the speed.
Michael Hardman?
Yeah, Mecole Hardman. That's another one that, let him go to. Kind of restart from scratch. Yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Okay. Something else I forgot to highlight earlier, and my apologies. Circling back to a bit of news, the Buffalo Bills have been cleaning house. So they released Naheem Hines earlier. Not a big surprise.
Yep.
But they've also signed Mitch Trubisky to an extension as a backup quarterback. They've restructured Von Miller. But they have also released safety Jordan Poyer, cornerback Tre'Davious White, center Mitch Morse, cornerback Saron Neal, and wide receiver Deontay Hardy.
I wonder if these are all salary cap issue
I'm
cuts.
guessing. Yeah, that's probably exactly what's going on. Is they have cap issues, and they're trying to restructure. But yeah, that's some interesting defensive talents hitting the not wide receiver, the waiver wire. That's the word I'm looking for. That's the word.
Yep.
Okay, another player that was cut, Alexander Madison, former running back for the Minnesota Vikings. They thought he was going to be the guy. He did not pan out. He did not live up. And Ty Chandler took that role. Now they're probably still going to pick somebody up, but wow, that's got to be a blow to the ego.
Yeah. But he didn't really. He didn't see the. Yeah, but also didn't see the field very much either.
He was back up to Dalvin Cook. He played admirably when he had his chances, but when he became the guy, he folded.
Yep. And that happens with guys, right? Like you look at or you sit there and you scream in the locker room, "I want the rock! I want the rock! I want the rock!" And they cut the guy that's ahead of you and say, "Okay, you're the guy now. It's put up or shut up." And like you said, he just kind of folded.
He did. Too bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't a big fan anyways.
From a fantasy standpoint, no. And really, does he get picked up by somebody else? I really can't see.
I'm sure he gets added to a roster on a low contract deal, but not. It's like I'm not paying him starter money. I'm not paying him that kind of cash. But I'll put him on the bench for $1 million.
Yeah.
To add some depth to my room. You got experience. You're a quality when you didn't have to run. You weren't the guy.
Yeah. End up in New England with the other 42 running backs.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Let's talk about franchise tags. The franchise tag window closed yesterday, and only 2 fantasy-relevant players were on it. T. Higgins, who was an early tag, and then Michael Pittman Jr., who was a late tag, as they continued to work through the contract negotiations. I'm fine with this. I like that T. Higgins is going to be back at least for 1 year in Cincy. Invest, try and make this push, which is why I don't know if I completely buy the rumors that they're going to try and get rid of Joe Mixon after his performance last year. If you want to make your run, no pun intended, for your Super Bowl, like you keep this team together, and franchising T. Higgins makes perfect sense. Michael Pittman Jr., I was actually surprised that he is up for the franchise tag, but whatever. It's time for contract renewal. I hope he gets paid. I hope he stays in Indianapolis. Otherwise, there's a lot of teams that could use a wide receiver, and he's young. Right? He'd be great to get my hands on.
You know, it shocked me though that there weren't more skill position players that didn't get tagged.
Give me some of your expectations. Players that you thought were going to get tagged but didn't.
Well, Pacheco could have been one of them.
Was he?
But third year on his deal, so I think he could have been.
No, he's not on the free agent list.
Oh,
so he's still under contract. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's a free agent. They could have franchise tagged him.
Yeah, but they franchised Snead.
Way better deal.
Yes.
And said go get traded.
Yeah. It just seemed like there was a lot more defensive guys that got tagged as opposed to the wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah, the only quarterback that could have been tagged was Cousins, but I think that relationship is over in Minnesota. There wasn't really any wide receivers outside of T. Higgins that'd be worth tagging based upon money that could have been spent on re-signing these guys. And then running backs, nobody values running backs anymore, so why would you franchise one? They franchised them last year, felt like they got overpaid, so like, you know what, guys? We'll try and restructure a deal and see if we can bring you back, or just go find somebody else. Maybe they'll just play musical chairs, and they'll just shuffle around to the teams that just exited having an experienced running back. We'll see. Well, speaking of free agency, let's just get right into that. I'm gonna hit a button here, and let's transition over to free agencies. So what we're going to do is we're going to go position by position and talk about where some of these quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs could land, or where we would like to see them land. So on the list of quarterbacks, and we don't have to talk about all of them, because really we don't need to talk about all of them. We could just do some very quick little stabs. We got Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston, Tyrod Taylor, Joshua Dobbs, Drew Lock, Mason Rudolph, and Marcus Mariota. So if you had to pick off the top, who is the best quarterback of this group? Is it obvious?
Wow. Based off of if you're going to base it just off of last year, Mariota had the best season out of all of them, I think.
No way. There's no way Mariota had the best season out of all of them. Joe Flacco had a way better season than Mariota did.
But he didn't even play the whole year.
And he still had better stats.
I mean, when you got Tyreek Hill and Waddle that you're throwing to, your numbers are...
Okay, Marcus Mariota didn't have that.
Oh, I'm thinking... Oh,
That's Tua.
I'm thinking Tua. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Marcus Mariota, the backup over in Philly? Okay.
What am I thinking here? Yeah. No, you're right. Yes. Yeah. Oh,
okay,
man.
so I think Kirk Cousins is probably the most valuable quarterback because he's a really good. He's an above average performing quarterback.
Yeah.
He's only 36. He's got a couple years left in him. I don't know if I trust Russell Wilson enough to let him be the guy.
Not at 35.
No. Joe Flacco at 39 though gave the Cleveland Browns life.
But I don't think Joe Flacco could last 17 games.
He was falling asleep on the bench. So
yes, he came in and did what he had to do for that short period of time, and yes, the magic was still there. That's going to be like I said earlier. Why don't you bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick out of?
No. He's done. He's done. He's a commentator.
But if you only had to bring him in for 3 games at the end of the season because your quarterback got hurt, he could probably still do it. I don't think Flacco's going to be there next year. Nah.
I think Flacco,
and I don't think anybody else is going to pick him up.
I think Flacco is going to get hey buddy, we're just going to pay you to have you. You're our quarterback, break in case, and that way we don't have to try and get you later if something happens.
If a team wanted to do a mentorship with a rookie quarterback that they're not going to start right away, then maybe. But I don't think he's going to have a job.
Okay, well, that's the first one we ranked. You said no job in 2024. I say he has a mentoring job.
Okay.
I think he's like quarterback 3, quarterback 4 on a team to come in to help pass on that tutelage and experience.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins, where do you want to see him go, or where do you think he's going to land?
I think he's going to stay put. Well, I don't know where he's going to land. Again, he's going to end up being a backup somewhere.
What? You think he's going to be a backup?
Yeah. He's going to be a backup somewhere.
Wow, okay. I think you broke the internet with that statement.
I've never been a Kirk Cousins fan. Never, ever.
He's a Spartan, so we dislike him a lot already. But he performed well enough and got screwed a little bit by Washington until he ended up in Minnesota. And I think he's a good enough quarterback. He's going to get paid probably a stupid amount of money for a short-term contract for a team that's trying to go to the Super Bowl. That's my thought. So he's going to end up with a team that thinks they're a quarterback away from being a contender.
But who is that doesn't already have a quarterback?
Well, okay, let's look at
Pittsburgh,
teams.
maybe.
Okay, so Pittsburgh, probably not. I wouldn't put Pittsburgh in that list because they're probably going to run back with Kenny Pickett. Cleveland, no. Seattle, no. They're going to stick with Geno.
The Rams, if they're done with
no. The Stafford's there. They've got two rookies that haven't had a chance because Stafford has been around. I don't know who thinks they're on the cusp, but like the Raiders. The Raiders were winning games with a mediocre-ish offense, but if you put Kirk Cousins with an aging Devontae Adams, maybe something happens.
You had that in Carr.
Yeah, but Carr is not nearly as good as Cousins. Carr is still further down the list, and Carr's got a job. He's in.
No. Yes. Yes.
So
I don't see what team.
okay,
Right.
let me do this. I am gonna go to the NFL.
Because if I'm a team looking for a quarterback,
Here we go. Bills, no. Dolphins, no. Jets, no.
No.
Because they got Aaron Rodgers. Patriots are looking for a quarterback, but I don't think they're in a position to make a run. Chiefs, no. Raiders, maybe. Broncos, maybe. Right? Because if they just got rid of... Right? They could be in
Wilson.
the hunt. If they just got rid of Wilson, they could be in the hunt for him. Okay? Ravens, no. Browns, no. Steelers, no. Bengals, no. Texans, no. Jaguars, no. Colts, no. Titans, maybe. Titans were
Okay.
6-11 and only had Will Levis, so probably not. Probably not the case, but that's a possibility. Let's go over to the NFC. Cowboys, no. Eagles, no. Giants. I'm going to say no because they weren't good enough to win enough games. I don't think it was quarterback play that held them back. It was just a bad team. Commanders, no. I think they're going to get a rookie. But I guess you could say that Commanders might be in the Kirk Cousins hunt. 49ers, no. Rams, no. Seahawks, no. Cardinals, no. Lions, no. Packers, no. Vikings, no. Bears, no. Buccaneers, maybe if they don't re-sign, but I really
Yeah.
think they're going to get Baker Mayfield back. No to the Seahawks. No to the Falcons. Maybe the Falcons. No to the Panthers. So you're right. There's not a lot of teams that just jump out as being, I need a quarterback, but I'm also a playoff-bound team. So if I had to put my money on it, I'd say it's either going to be the Raiders or the Broncos. I think the Raiders are more than likely
Okay.
because it saves them from having to trade up and get a rookie. Because they're not in a draft position to get one just natural progression-wise. So they're
Sure.
either going to have to trade up to go and get him, or they could just pay up and go and get Kirk Cousins. So
Okay.
I will say Raiders starter.
Okay.
And you say backup somewhere. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Russell Wilson has... Okay, sorry. Please continue.
No, I was just going to start to talk about Russell Wilson,
Take it
and
away.
I would put him where you have Kirk Cousins. Slap him into the Raiders.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Better
I can
running
see
game.
that.
Better running game there for him with Josh Jacobs.
Except Josh
I'll-
Jacobs isn't there anymore. He's moving on.
Well, you just had news from him about him earlier.
I do,
What
but
were you-
it's not about him staying with the Raiders.
Oh,
Yeah.
but they have a pretty good solid run game.
Had.
If they can improve the offensive line, then he's got Devontae Adams to throw the ball to. Bridge core QB somewhere. Okay.
Yep. I don't see him as being the long-term starter. I think he'll get a bridge QB, get us through next year, get us through the
Yes.
year after that. Let's see what happens. I don't want to pay you.
That's where I think maybe the Raiders may take the stab at him.
Sure.
That
Yeah.
you know what? I know Denver doesn't want you there. So I will take the deal as long as they pay half your salary.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll
Give you the
take.
seventh.
I'll take you on our team, as long as they keep most of your salary, and I'll be happy if you can get if you can get me 2 years, and even if it doesn't work out, then I can draft somebody next year.
Or draft somebody this year. knowing
Draft
he's
somebody
gonna
this
sit
year.
behind. Yeah.
Exactly. And if Wilson, you go down, then the guy that I drafted can step up.
Yeah. Because maybe they take a day two, or maybe a late first and take like Rattler or somebody.
Yeah, or Bo Nix or somebody like
Yeah, right? Like, exactly. They take somebody like that.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Baker Mayfield, I think he resigns with the Bucks.
I think he's crazy not to, because he knows the offense. He knows he can be somewhat successful.
Okay.
And Gardner Minshew.
Okay, Gardner Minshew to me had an absolutely amazing year. He stepped in for Anthony Richardson. He gave the Colts a fighting chance. He made relevant players relevant still, regardless of what was happening. I think this is a guy who is going to get not a starting contract, but he's going to get a solid backup role.
For me, I think he's smart if he just stays there.
In Indy?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You want him to re-sign with Indy?
For the sake of it's like Baker Mayfield. Just because you had a one good year doesn't give you the Holy Grail, and you walk on to Denver, you walk on to Vegas, and you could be right back where you were before your season with Indy. Kind of bottom 5 quarterbacks of the league and not doing much. Stay where you were at.
Sure.
Sorry.
I don't like that take because Anthony Richardson has a different play dynamic than Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a pocket passer. Anthony Richardson is an athletic quarterback. So you'd want to have a backup quarterback like that behind him that your systems kind of jive together.
I suppose.
I could be wrong. That's just how I would see it. So for me, I want Gardner Minshew to take a backup job where he's going to push that starter to be better, or you're going to lose your job to Gardner Minshew, which means our team's in trouble. So
Washington, maybe.
I'm going to put him as a backup over in New Orleans.
Okay.
Right? So he's going to push Derek Carr, because if Derek Carr blows it, then they know they've got a quality backup in Gardner Minshew. So Carr knows, like, hey, look, there's not a big difference between me and Gardner Minshew. I better perform here. I better make this work. Another team that kind of comes to mind where that would work is, maybe he does get a shot at the Raiders, because whoever they bring in, or like whatever team isn't super confident in their starter, the Steelers. I'd rather have Gardner Minshew as my backup behind Kenny Pickett, because he could probably beat Kenny Pickett for the starting job.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a great thing. I'm just saying he's good enough to steal a job from a crappy quarterback, but he's not good enough to hold the starting job.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay.
Ryan Tannehill.
Just retire. Retire.
Should retire. Okay. Just retire. Okay. Andrew is throwing out the love here. Just retire. I think he gets a backup job, like a Joe Flacco type of job. Like you're here.
See, my view of him, I don't want him to be like Andy Dalton, and like your time is done. Your time is done. To go out gracefully where everybody remembered you as a great quarterback, not as a guy that tried to hold on too long and just I can't get out of the spotlight type thing.
Okay.
Again, you sit back like Flacco, retire, and then if somebody gets hurt, you can come out of retirement. Right? Just sit back and let's see what happens with the season. Will Levis goes down and he goes down. Hey, Ryan Tannehill, we need you.
True enough. Okay, Jacoby Brissett. Do you think he has a job?
Not really.
No.
I was never a fan of his.
I think. Okay, so you're saying no job. I'm saying he gets a backup short term, right? To me, he's just a backup, breaking case of glass. To me, Jameis Winston, like all of these guys that we're going to talk about,
they're all backups.
But guys that I would like to have as a backup end at Joshua Dobbs. I don't want Drew Lock. I don't want Mason Rudolph, and I don't want Marcus Mariota. To me, those are guys that should just go.
You know what? The guy that started. You know what? The guy that I thought was in Miami, throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, get rid of him.
You know what? I'm in the same boat as you with all of these guys.
Are you just like no job in 2024, or do you think any of these guys?
Yeah, just basically sit back and watch what's going to happen, because we are starting to get an influx of too many quarterbacks. There's too many quarterbacks. Well, that it's like the running backs, the quarterbacks are now starting to pile up, and there's no value in them. Why would I pay Joshua Dobbs even $1 million to sit there, because he's never going to sit? He's going to be on the practice squad.
You need a quarterback on your roster. You need more than one quarterback. You need essentially 3.
I get that. Two
that you can rely on, and one that maybe is like that transition from the practice squad to the regular squad.
But there's guys that you can draft that you'll pay less money to.
That could accomplish the same thing?
Exactly. If he's going to be your third string guy, go out and get a guy on day 6 of the draft. Like I don't see where Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to outperform, a round 4, round 5 quarterback in the draft. They're going to be the same value.
Sure, I'd pay them the same then. I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett with his experience tootling or sitting behind somebody that is my starter than going and trying to find somebody in the draft and hope that they pan out.
You're going to take the same gamble. You're taking the same gamble on either way.
Me, you know what you're going to get out of a Joshua Dobbs or Tyrod Taylor. You're going to get a guy that could win you a game 30% of the time, but suck 70% of the time.
Yeah, I don't know. Like these, just if they make a team as a third string quarterback, okay, but I don't know.
Okay. No, cool though. All right, that's part why we have a conversation about it, right?
Yep.
Differing of opinions. Let's move to wide receivers, because we're dragging this out. It's taking a little long. Let's not belabor our friends. We're nearly at the hour mark. Mike Evans re-signed. Calvin Ridley, because there are some interesting wide receivers on this list. Wide receivers that I would be interested in seeing get a job: Calvin Ridley, Marquise Brown, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Essentially end of list. Darnell Mooney. I think that's the end of list.
Yeah.
I don't want to take a shot on Gabe Davis. He was 0 impact last year.
Yeah.
Don't know if he's worth it. To me, that could just cost me money for nothing. Michael Thomas, please retire.
Yes.
Curtis Samuel, okay, sure, maybe is my number 4, but I'm not paying you. Odell Beckham, I don't want the drama. I don't want whatever you come with. You're not worth the money. Nope. DJ Chark had his time. Again, he's just a notable. I like Darnell Mooney because he has youth and didn't really get a chance out there in Chicago, so maybe he has a shot. But like Kendrick Bourne, Noah Brown, and MVS, they're all just aging guys I wouldn't spend money on.
Yeah. The only one, maybe, Noah Brown, because they got a good young quarterback that maybe, but
do you think they'd bring him back in Houston? I think they'd get somebody else.
You're probably right. For all of these, I'd be in the exact same thought process as you.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, where would I want to see him sign? Not Jacksonville.
No.
You know what? Get him into. You like him in the Patriots? I was going to say Kansas City.
Okay. If he comes to Kansas City on a team-friendly deal, I'll take it.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think he's probably going to be looking to get paid, and I think the Patriots are the kind of team that will pay him because I guess they don't have Belichick anymore, but that's the team that always got the most out of some of these aging veterans.
Yeah.
And that might not be their MO anymore, but like to me, either you're sticking with Mac Jones or you're moving on, you're getting a new quarterback. Either way, you need a receiver that can catch the ball reliably.
That or, sorry to cut you off. Another team that's like that, Minnesota. Him and Jefferson together.
Sure, with Jordan Addison, and who's going to throw them the ball?
Maybe that's what they go after in the draft.
But I couldn't see them bringing in Calvin Ridley if they have to go and draft a quarterback or trade for one. I guess possible. I don't see that happening with the case. But interesting. Marquise Brown.
Stay there.
Yeah, I think it's best if he just resigns with the Cards.
Yeah.
And if he does, recognize that you're probably going to be second fiddle to Marvin Harrison Jr. or at a 1% chance they draft Malik Neighbors. But if they do decide to draft at the number 4 spot, if they don't trade out to allow someone to get a quarterback, I think Marquise Brown, take your hit, go back, play with Kyler, and allow a new young guy to become the number 1 and just support your team. You know the system. Otherwise, I don't know if I want him anywhere else.
He knows the system. He's going to get you 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's going to be a consistent guy. Yeah, I agree with you on Gabe Davis. Good luck getting paid, but where I think maybe he could do some damage is in Las Vegas. Be the backup to Devontae Adams.
You think Marquise Brown?
No, Gabe Davis.
Oh, Gabe Davis. Oh, you think he's going to go to the Raiders?
Yeah. Let him go to the Raiders and be the backup to Devontae Adams. Realize your role. You are not the starter. You are not the man.
Okay, I think Gabe Davis has got a giant ego and thinks he's going to get paid. I don't think he's going to get paid. And if he ends up in the Raiders, he's not even going to be the number 2 because their number 1 is Devontae Adams. Their number 2 is that other receiver. Number 3 was Hunter Renfrow, who I think is released or is a free agent. So, yeah, I don't think he battles. I don't think he's good enough.
Well,
but, could.
Yeah.
Could.
Michael Thomas, retire. You're done.
You're done. I don't want to talk about you anymore.
That or the team that picks you up better have an ambulance sitting in the parking lot waiting for you.
Okay. This might be crazy, but I really like Tyler Boyd. I think you do too.
Yep.
I think he performed well. He was the third wide receiver 3 on his team. But when he did have the chance to be the wide receiver 2, the guy performed. Hear me out. I want him to get a wide receiver 2-ish job somewhere, and where I'd like to see him land is Buffalo.
Ooh. No. If he doesn't stay in Cincinnati, and just kind of accept his role, where I think he could do some damage is the Jets. Be the second guy to the Jets.
Go be the veteran dude. Okay.
Bring the locker room together. Him and Aaron Rodgers bring the locker room together as kind of guys. Let's rally. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. No, not bad. Okay, Curtis Samuel. I think he'll get a job.
He'll get a job. Stay there though. It depends on who they get as their quarterback. Stay there. Know your role.
Okay.
And the rest, I agree with you. Mooney. It depends on who they get.
I don't think he stays in Chicago. I think he goes somewhere else. I just hope he gets a second chance because I think what we saw out of him was enough to say that this guy's a quality wide receiver. He was just in a bad situation on a bad team for too long. Couldn't rise up to the number 1.
Here you go. Take Michael Thomas's job in New Orleans.
Oh. Okay, because they've got that Rashid Shaheed, and
Yeah.
they've got. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad, right? Another, you're adding a young talent to a core that really
Yeah.
is probably going to need to pass a lot because they're not going to win.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
especially if they lose Kamara.
I don't
Right.
think they will. I think Kamara stays and he performs, and he doesn't get another extension out of the deal. I think this is it.
Okay.
Speaking of running backs, let's jump into running backs. So here's
Yes.
the list of our running backs right now. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. Oh, I missed some. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, Ezekiel Elliott, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Gus Edwards, and Damian Harris.
Okay. So I guess start with the elephant in the room, Barkley.
Barkley. I think he lands a job somewhere. I think there's a lot of places he could go and be relevant. I hope he goes to a team that's going to try and compete, that just is that one piece away. So I talked about Houston. When I heard that, I got really excited. So I'm actually going to say he goes to Houston.
I don't like to say this team because of the Bengals, but yep, the Ravens.
The Ravens. To me, they are going to pick somebody up. That's not who I think they're going to go for. But, okay. And here's my Josh Jacob noobs.
Okay.
He announced
Wow.
he would like to play for the Bears.
Wow.
If you're going to throw that out on your social media or have it in whatever conversation you had, so it ended up on social media, I was like, oh, okay. You want to go play for the Bears. Josh Jacobs for the Bears. I'm not even going to make a suggestion on where I'd like to see him go. But if he goes to the Bears, I hope Aiden Hutchinson causes him a nosebleed.
Where I think he needs to go is the Cardinals.
What?
Yep.
No way.
Take over the job. Take over the job from
James Conner?
James Conner. I think he's got 2 or 3 years left. Their quarterback needs to stop running the ball and stay healthy. I think they can improve their team by picking up him. You like Derrick Henry going to the
keep
Ravens?
going, man. Keep talking about other stuff. Don't jump down. Don't
Okay.
sneak
I just think he'd be a really good fit. He's a good power runner, and I think that the Cardinals could be a smash mouth team, like the Lions. Just get in there and kick the snot out of teams, especially teams in your own division. So we'll move on to the next guy, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I actually heard he was considering retiring.
That is a possibility. That is always a possibility due to his age.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to what kind of offer does he get. If
Yeah.
I'm Derrick Henry and a playoff potential team, a playoff strong team in the Ravens comes calling and says, hey, can we get you for 1 year, maybe 2? Can we put you on a 2-year deal that's really just a 1-year deal, and let's see what happens.
Wow.
I would be interested. If I'm any one of these running backs and the Ravens come calling, I would be interested. You're a playoff potential team with a solid quarterback. You have a wide receiver room that's kind of up and coming. I think you need to get somebody else because OBJ is gone. But I think there's potential there. So to me, Derrick Henry, solid smash mouth runner. Consider unless they decide to get somebody else further down this list and then try and get a running back because J.K. Dobbins is coming back from an injury, hasn't played football a lot. So to me, they're not going to re-sign J.K. Dobbins. They tried it out. Gus Edwards is also a free agent, also on this list. They need to do something different. I suspect they sign a veteran, a quality veteran that can hit hard. And then go get themselves somebody they can get in the draft. What are you thinking?
I think it could get really, really scary. You sign him. Well, how do I put it? You approach him on, do you want a championship? Do you want a shot at the Super Bowl? Take a team-friendly deal, and once you come over to Dallas, or once you come over to San Francisco, and sit behind CMC, and the two of you in the second half of the season spell each other off so that you're both fresh for the playoffs.
That's kind of like what Melvin Gordon did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, look, I'm a veteran. I've got
and did you not get a ring out of it?
He did. I think he got 2 rings out of it. 2 different teams.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in this case, if Dallas didn't have an opening for a starting job, I wouldn't see San Francisco fitting that mold, but yes, I think you're right. There could be an attraction saying, hey, look, let's just add you now for the whole year, and you be our 1-2 punch with our running game.
Yep. Like putting him in Cleveland would be scary as hell.
Well, Nick Chubb, who's not on this list, should be on this list because I don't know what is going to happen to him come next year.
Yeah.
Right? So I could see that being a team looking for a veteran body. If they brought in Derrick Henry to work with Nick Chubb until Nick Chubb is healthy, and then you had the two of them just alternating, pounding the rock, wow, that would be dangerous. That'd be pretty scary.
Yeah. So for me, it's any Super Bowl contender as a compliment. Okay. Like, heck, I'd love to see him even go to Kansas City.
Okay, so yeah, any one of these guys in Kansas City would be scary as long as the price is right.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco. Okay, well let's talk about the next guy, Austin Eckler. Pass catching back extraordinaire. I think he still has some pass catching years left in him if he doesn't have to be the workhorse. So I said 1 year deal in Philly, but that could easily just become the Kansas City Chiefs, right? He takes over the Clyde Edwards-Helaire deal. It comes as your third down pass catching option. Let Isaiah Pacheco maintain that ground and pound.
I like Austin Eckler going to if they draft McCarthy, let him go to Denver. Kind of be that passing back. Be the passing back for
Edwards type role.
Yeah. They've got a decent running back for their power back.
Javonte Williams, yeah.
Yeah. Have him fill that role.
Okay. DeAndre Swift. I think he ends up as a backup in Washington. I think he has a backup. He's a backup running back. He's not a starter. And I think where he ends up is in Washington. You got Brian Robinson hitting the rock, and then you got DeAndre Swift as your alternate.
Atlanta as the same role.
Oh, Atlanta. Okay. Behind Bijan.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Tony Pollard, do you think he gets a starting job?
Oh, wow. See, that's why I'd love to see Pollard and Henry in Dallas.
Okay. That to me that could happen, right? You're essentially recreating the Zeke Pollard scenario.
Yep.
But with a different Zeke.
Yep.
I think Pollard was best suited if he goes back to Dallas. Hopefully that comes to fruition. And I like the idea. Pair him up with somebody. Whether you draft somebody and you pair him up, or you get a bruiser like Henry in for that 1 year.
That or Washington.
Yeah.
As the backup of Washington.
Backup. I don't think he gets a starting job.
No. He did what Elliott did. He got paid and he got comfortable. And the passions came out of his game. and he wasn't as effective.
Okay. I don't agree with that. I agree that he just wasn't good enough to be the starter. I think he was good as a half role split with somebody, but not someone who can carry the load.
So when they dumped Elliott, like everybody in the world thought, oh, hey,
$20 a deal.
Tony Pollard's going to be the greatest thing. They didn't need Elliott. So you think now that he got exposed that, yeah, they did need Elliott?
Okay, not that they needed Elliott, but they needed they needed a running back to fill that role.
Somebody to challenge him
Pollard
and push
wasn't
him.
the guy, yeah. So
Okay.
if they bring him back and then sign somebody, I think he'll probably do well again. He's just not a guy to do it on his own, to be
Sure.
the number one. Not that personality. And I think the rest of these guys, except for one, will get a backup job somewhere, but not be relevant for fantasy. So on this list, I'm saying is Devin Singletary, Antonio Gibson. I'm not even sure he's going to get a job. J.K. Dobbins, good luck. Zeke, too old. Zach Moss had a great backup role in Indy. Hopefully he goes back. A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Gus Edwards, and Damien Harris. Those are notable running backs that were relevant at one point, but I don't think will get a starting job.
No.
Either, at best, a committee position.
Yeah. They could even end up as just a supporting role, like a third down catching back or like their specialty, right? Elliott, you're going to be our bus. You're going to go on the 1 yard line and jump over the pile.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's a great role. Take that team, play that role. I'm going to get 30 touches, all in the 5 yard line.
Yeah.
And you're going to get like 30 touchdowns or 29 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a scenario. The Carolina Panthers don't have a running back room to speak of. Miles Sanders was not it, and Chuba Hubbard was okay as a backup. Do you think, out of this list, from Devin Singletary down to Damien Harris, of that list, is there anybody there that you would like to give a shot to put into that 3-back rotation to see if he could rise to the top, that has the best chance of success?
There's 2 that stick out.
Okay.
Moss and Edwards-Helaire.
Okay. Moss, I would agree with. That was what came to my mind. But you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you think he's got something left?
I think so. I think that Kansas City, out of necessity, because Edwards-Helaire got hurt, they pulled the trigger and went with Pacheco. He got hot, and they just stayed with the hot guy. And Pacheco really didn't give it back up. Right? So we didn't really get to see, was Edwards-Helaire really done or not? So, give him a shot there. If Vegas walks, if Jacobs walks away from Vegas, Edwards-Helaire go to Vegas.
Yeah, he could be a really good supposedly he's a really good pass catcher. That's part of the reason why they...
The biggest knock on him was that he didn't want to block. That was the big thing, that Pacheco would block for Mahomes. Edwards-Helaire kind of whiffed at too many blocks, and so I don't know. Maybe sitting as the backup for 2 years will wake him up, and maybe he could be good for somewhere, right?
All right. Well, we wish these guys the best of luck. Next week is the start of free agency. We're going to see some exciting moves. Monday is the opening of the tampering period. What a weird way to call it, the tampering period, where you can legally tamper with people to talk. So hopefully we'll hear some juicy gossip when we get back together next Wednesday night. We'll actually have some things to discuss about who went where. But some potential cut candidates, guys that are currently on a team that could very easily be cut. I just want to rattle this off. If you could give me like a quick 2-sentence, whatever, what you think. Justin Fields. Going to be traded?
Traded.
Okay.
Russell Wilson, cut. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Cut. Garoppolo,
You think they're going to cut him? You don't think they can get anything from a trade?
no.
Okay. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Cut.
Cut.
Hoyer cut. Hoyer cut.
Zach Wilson.
Trade.
You think someone's going to trade for Zach Wilson?
You might get some draft picks out of for him.
A draft.
Andy Dalton, retire. Tyler Heineke, retire.
Okay.
Who's Reed?
Davis Mills. So they keep as a backup?
Yeah, back up. He'll stay there. Case Keenum, third string, keep him, I guess.
Okay.
Malik
Willis. Malik Willis is the third string running quarterback in Tennessee, behind Will Levis. Do you think they keep him?
Again, I think it's a situation where potentially trade him.
Okay.
And am I Reed now?
Oh, I put you. Oh, jeez.
I'll
fix that. There we go, says Andy. All right. Wide receivers, Mike Williams.
Oh, man.
$40 million dead cap hit.
Cut.
I get okay. So keep, trade, cut. You're going to say cut.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett.
Ooh. Keep.
Zay Jones.
He had flashes of it, so keep.
Okay, keep. Surprise. Michael Gallup. Dallas.
That locker room's too full. Cut.
Okay. Russell Gage.
Retire.
I'm surprised he's. Okay. So keep, trade, cut just became keep, trade, cut, retire. Okay, Kadarius Toney. Cut.
Cut him out of the league.
Okay, Hunter Renfrow.
Oh. Because you were saying earlier. Sorry, go ahead.
He did nothing last year by design. They kept him out of the relevancy, but was absolutely outstanding the year before.
Obviously, they don't want him.
Yep.
So try to trade.
Allen
I don't know
Robinson.
what you get it for. Oh, cut.
Tim
Patrick, cut.
Robert
cut,
Woods.
Cut. And
Alan
cut.
Lazard, cut. Okay, Nick Chubb.
Wow. Trade.
He's on the list. Okay, so you think you might be able to trade him? Aaron Jones. Green Bay.
He's
Only
29.
running back on the roster.
I'd cut him and draft a running back.
Okay. Alvin Kamara.
See, you were saying you think he's going to stay there. I
think this is last year. I think they ride this year out because they've got two young kids, Kendre Miller and another rookie. Not rookie, but I guess another second-year running back. So I think they're okay. They don't need Alvin Kamara. I think they'll just use him. It just depends on how much he's going to cost.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if his salary's, if you could dump him or trade him to reduce your costs, I would say trade.
Okay.
Or try to trade. Yeah.
Okay. Miles Sanders.
Oh. Cut.
Damian Pierce.
I would keep him.
Really?
Just as a handcuff.
Okay. And the last little bit of news here before we wrap it up for the night. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, on track for May full clearance to begin training camp.
Yeah. So they're saying the beginning of May he can resume all his training and get back to playing. Again, as a Bengals fan, and it bothers me to say it, this is going to be his make or break year. If he gets hurt again, he's done.
Okay.
Like, is he turning out to be another glass jaw kind of player.
I
He
think
can't
he's
play
going
a
to get
whole
beat
year.
up if that offensive line can't protect him.
True. But that hand injury, is that an offensive line issue or is that something else?
Cool. I don't know.
So
You're the Cincy guy.
yeah, I like him. I know he's talented, but he's like Tua. When he's on the field, he's great, and he's getting protected. He's great. But one more hit to Tua's head, and
Sure, that's a scary scenario to be in. But
yeah,
he had an amazing rebound season
yes,
where
and
he
that's
learned to protect his body, and they played a bit differently, so he didn't have concussions. But
yeah,
you're right; he's now one full year removed from having a concussion-laden season, and is now, I think, in a better position going forward. But he is
yes,
one bad hit away from being done.
yeah. Well, he's got to look over his shoulder for that. What's that guy's name? That Mariota guy.
Yeah, right, because Marcus
He's coming
Mariota is going
for
to
you.
come hunting for that job. Marcus Mariota is going to do awesome things with Tyreek
Yes.
Hill and Jalen
Yeah.
Waddle.
But that's why I say, like, with Burrow, this is his make or break year. You just signed that big contract, and now you've had 2 season-ending injuries. They put all their eggs in in the one basket, and
But that's why it's the most important position
It
in all
is.
of sports. Because
It
of the
is.
importance that this person plays, and because it's a one position, you don't have quality backups. So you're going to invest a lot of money into this
Yeah.
individual. You're going to try and build around them to protect them. But one injury, and it's all done.
yeah. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully he comes back. He has a year like he did after his knee injury, and they go to the Super Bowl again. And I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to put this out there, and I know it's not part of the. Have you heard the Shannon Sharp and
You sent it to
Ocho
me.
Cinco? Oh, I did send that to you.
You did send it to me. But tell the world, man. Tell the world. I love this conspiracy theory.
Where's the Super Bowl this year? New Orleans,
Yep.
Louisiana,
LSU
LSU.
product.
Yep, Burrow and Chase, LSU product. The conspiracy theory is that they've already been chosen as the team to go to the Super Bowl.
They've been chosen. What are the colors and logo for the Super Bowl next year? Has that been leaked? Because there seems to be a relation between the teams that are in the. So that is the 2024 Super Bowl.
No, that'll be 2025.
Super Bowl. Okay. Super Bowl. Let's see what that logo is. Oh, you're correct. 2025. My apologies. Type that out. Oh. Okay, so the logo is bright red with these fluorescent green swirls on it.
Okay, so who's bright red? Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it could be Tampa Bay. That could be Atlanta. That could be
It's not Cincinnati.
Kansas
That's
City
orange.
again, right? Like that.
Yeah, Kansas City.
That bright red. But the fluorescent green, there's only one team that has a fluorescent green color, and that's Seattle.
Oh, the fluorescent green. I was going to say Green Bay, but
Not that kind of green.
Okay.
It's a very New Orleans-esque logo.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens, though.
Yeah.
But if either one, the Chiefs or the Bengals, I'll be happy that it'd be like 6 years in a row for
you
me
having a team that you like in the Super
in the
Bowl.
finals. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Okay, folks, thank you very much for joining us tonight. As we've transitioned and we're making changes to the league, we'd love to hear from you. You can hit us up on our socials. You can find us at Poor Man Football, all one word, on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Pretty soon we'll have a website. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Brian Baldock, who has helped with some of the animations and graphics, which you may or may not have seen if you watched the video portion of the show, because now we do it in video format. So check us out wherever you get your podcasts, but mostly on Spotify or Apple. That's where things are at. We'll be back next week on Wednesday, March 13th, as we review the actual free agent signings that occur between the quote-unquote tampering period and Wednesday night.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. From one poor man to another. Remember, if it's not fun, it is not worth doing. Good night, everybody.
Have a great week, everybody.